dare you mock my walls?
They are nothing but a ditch.
Then defend yourself!
According to legend, the city of Rome was founded in 753 BC by the twin brothers Romulus and Remus. They were the sons of the god Mars. But as infants, they were abandoned and left to die on the banks of the Tiber River. A she-wolf found them and nursed them, saving their lives. Later, a shepherd raised them. When they grew up, they decided to build a city. However, they argued over who would rule and where to build it. In a fit of rage, Romulus killed his brother Remus. He then became the first king of the city, naming it after himself, Rome. This brutal beginning set the stage for the city's fierce and ambitious character. The Romans were brilliant engineers, and their secret weapon was concrete. Unlike modern concrete, which crumbles in seawater, Roman concrete used a special recipe with volcanic ash, known as pozzolana. This made it incredibly durable, and even stronger when in contact with water. It allowed them to build massive structures like the Colosseum, the Pantheon, and harbors that have survived for over 2,000 years. Scientists are still studying this ancient material to improve our modern construction. The Pantheon's dome, still the world's largest unreinforced concrete dome, is a timeless testament to their ingenuity.
Et tu, brute?
Beware the Ides of March. On March 15, 44 BC, a group of over 60 senators, led by Brutus and Cassius, assassinated Julius Caesar in the theater of Pompey. They believed he was becoming a tyrant and wanted to restore the Republic. Caesar was lured to the Senate and surrounded. The conspirators stabbed him 23 times. Legend says that upon seeing his friend Brutus among the attackers, Caesar uttered his famous last words, "You too, my child?" His death did not save the Republic. Instead, it plunged Rome into a new series of civil wars, leading to the rise of the Roman Empire under his adopted heir, Octavian.
From these heights, I witness the pyre of Priam's city, a tragedy reborn in fire.
In 64 AD, a devastating fire broke out in Rome, raging for 6 days and destroying 3 of the city's 14 districts. The Emperor Nero was famously accused of fiddling while Rome burned, though this is a myth as the fiddle hadn't been invented. The historian Tacitus claims Nero was away from the city and organized relief efforts. However, he also seized the burned land to build his enormous golden house, a lavish palace complex. To divert blame, he infamously persecuted Christians, whom he accused of starting the fire, leading to horrific executions. The true cause of the fire remains a mystery.
Behold, Rome, another rival cut down. Who challenges me next? He is truly mad. This cannot continue.
Emperor Commodus, son of Marcus Aurelius, was notoriously megalomaniacal. He fancied himself the reincarnation of Hercules and loved to fight in the gladiatorial arena. But these were not fair fights. He would enter the Colosseum to fight disabled soldiers, cripples, or wild animals, always ensuring his victory was guaranteed. He charged the Roman state 1,000,000 sesterces for each appearance. The Senate and people were horrified, seeing it as a disgrace for an emperor to perform like a common slave. His antics in the arena, which included decapitating ostriches and claiming they were political rivals, were a sign of his insanity and contributed to his eventual assassination.
caldarium is superb today.
Truly, the finest water in the Empire.
The Romans mastered the art of moving water with their magnificent aqueducts. These were not just bridges with arches, but complex systems of channels, tunnels, and pipes that used gravity to transport fresh water from distant sources into cities and towns. This engineering marvel supplied public baths, fountains, latrines, and private homes. The abundance of clean water improved public health, sanitation, and quality of life. Some aqueducts, like the Pont du Gard in France, stretched for over 50 kilometers and are still standing today, a testament to Roman precision and their desire to bring civilization's comforts to every corner of their empire.
Ius civile vigilantibus scriptum est.
Ego fessus sum.
Vile est.
We often think of Latin as a formal, scholarly language, but the common people, soldiers, and merchants of the Roman Empire spoke vulgar Latin. This was the everyday spoken version of the language, full of slang, contractions, and regional variations. It was this vulgar or common speech, not the classical Latin of Cicero, that evolved over centuries into the Romance languages we know today: Italian, Spanish, French, Portuguese, and Romanian. The graffiti found on the walls of Pompeii gives us a hilarious and direct window into this real, living language, from love notes and insults to advertisements and political slogans.
To arms! Form the wedge! Hold your ground! We are surrounded!
In 09 AD, 3 entire Roman legions, led by Publius Quinctilius Varus, were marching through the dense Teutoburg forest in Germania. They were betrayed by their Germanic ally, Arminius, a chieftain who had served in the Roman army. Arminius knew Roman tactics intimately and lured the legions into a deadly ambush. For 3 days, Germanic warriors harassed and annihilated the tightly packed Roman column in the mud and rain. The defeat was so total that the legionary eagles, the sacred symbols of the legions, were captured. Emperor Augustus was said to have wandered his palace, crying, "Quintili var, las legiones retha." Varus, give me back my legions. Rome never again tried to conquer Germania beyond the Rhine.
Push them back! Flank them now! We are trapped!
The Battle of Cannae in 216 BC was one of the most crushing defeats in Roman history. The Carthaginian general Hannibal, despite being outnumbered, used a brilliant double envelopment tactic. He placed his weakest troops in the center, which slowly retreated, drawing the massive Roman army inward. Meanwhile, his strong cavalry routed the Roman horsemen and attacked the legions from the rear. The Roman army was surrounded and utterly destroyed. It's estimated that 50,000 to 70,000 Romans were killed in a single day. This battle became a timeless lesson in military strategy and a nightmare that haunted Rome for generations.
Gather them! The spoils of the ocean are ours!
Hey, did you know a Roman emperor once ordered his entire army to attack the ocean? It was Caligula, one of Rome's most unpredictable leaders. After a failed invasion of Britain, he marched his legions to the English Channel. Furious at the rough seas that had stopped his ships, he declared war on Neptune, the sea god. He commanded his soldiers to stab the waves with their swords and spears. They filled the water with arrows. Then he ordered them to gather seashells from the beach, calling them the ocean spoils of war. He marched back to Rome, claiming victory over the sea. This bizarre event made many question if he was a madman or just the ultimate troll.
We have escaped the chains of Rome. Now we fight as free men on the slopes of Vesuvius.
Spartacus was a Thracian gladiator who led the largest and most famous slave revolt against the Roman Republic. In 73 BC, he escaped from a gladiatorial school in Capua with about 70 other slaves. They hid on Mount Vesuvius and soon attracted tens of thousands of runaway slaves and peasants. For 2 years, Spartacus's army humiliated Roman legions sent to crush them, marching up and down Italy. His goal was to escape over the Alps to freedom. However, his followers chose to plunder Italy instead. Eventually, the rich Marcus Crassus defeated them. Spartacus died in battle, and 6,000 of his followers were crucified along the Appian Way as a brutal warning. While we think of central heating as a modern luxury, the Romans had it in their baths and wealthy villas. The system was called a hypocaust. It worked by raising the floor on pillars of brick, creating a space underneath. A furnace, stoked by slaves, would heat the air, which would then circulate under the floor and through hollow tiles in the walls, warming the entire room. The floors would become pleasantly warm to the touch. This ingenious invention made Roman baths social hubs even in winter and demonstrated their advanced understanding of thermodynamics and comfort, a technology that wouldn't be matched for over a millennium.
To the shore! Hold the eagle high! For Rome!
In 55 BC, Julius Caesar became the first Roman to invade Britain. He crossed the Channel with 2 legions, not for conquest, but as a show of force to stop the Britons from aiding Gaulish rebellions. The landing was chaotic. His ships couldn't get close, and soldiers had to jump into deep water under enemy attack. They eventually established a beachhead, but bad weather damaged his fleet and limited supplies. After a brief series of skirmishes and a tenuous peace, Caesar withdrew. While not a military success, it was a propaganda triumph in Rome. He had gone where no Roman had gone before, and it paved the way for the full conquest a century later.
To Rome, no delay! He is swift! Be gone!
The Roman Empire was vast, and governing it required fast communication. Emperor Augustus established the Cursus Publicus, the state-run courier and transportation service. It was a network of relay stations along main roads where messengers on horseback could swap tired animals for fresh ones, allowing them to cover up to 200 miles a day. Official dispatches, tax records, and important travelers moved efficiently across the empire. This system was the nervous system of Rome, enabling the central government to control its provinces effectively. It was so vital that it continued to operate in some form for centuries, even after the Western Empire's fall. Even the Grand Colosseum has a human side. Archaeologists found ancient graffiti scratched into its stones. One inscription, left by a builder, reads, "April 19th I made mortar. We were given bread." But another, perhaps from a disgruntled co-worker, adds a correction. He lies. He was just standing around. This 2,000-year-old workplace complaint gives us a hilarious and intimate glimpse into the lives of the common people who built Rome's wonders. It shows that some things never change.
Behold, gentlemen, does he not possess the dignity of a consul? Soon Incitatus will sit among you.
This is madness. A horse!
Emperor Caligula's insanity knew no bounds. He had a favorite horse named Incitatus, which means swift. His treatment of the animal went beyond mere affection. Caligula provided Incitatus with a marble stable, an ivory manger, a jeweled collar, and even a house with servants. The most infamous story claims he planned to make Incitatus a consul, the highest office in Rome, while historians debate if he was serious or just mocking the Senate. The message was clear. The emperor believed his horse was more worthy of power than the Roman aristocracy. It was the ultimate insult to the traditional ruling class. The Pantheon is one of the best preserved ancient Roman buildings, and for good reason. Its revolutionary design features a massive, unreinforced concrete dome with a central oculus, or eye, open to the sky. The dome's height is exactly equal to its diameter, creating a perfect sphere. The oculus provides all the light, and is also a symbolic connection to the gods. Rain falls through it and drains through holes in the slightly slanted floor. Originally a temple for all gods, it later became a church, which saved it from destruction. It remains a stunning architectural marvel, inspiring builders for nearly 2 millennia.
Fresh bread. Get your bread here. Finest olives from the south.
Yes, this shipment looks promising. Send it to the atrium.
Most Romans didn't live in villas, but in cramped apartment blocks called insula or islands. These buildings, often 6 stories high, were made of wood and brick, with shops on the ground floor. The higher you lived, the poorer you were. Apartments at the top were cheap, tiny, and dangerous, with no running water, heating, or toilets. Tenants used public latrines and carried water. Fires and collapses were common. In contrast, the wealthy lived in spacious lower-floor apartments. The insula shows the stark contrast between Rome's rich and poor and the challenges of urban life in the ancient world. Gladiators were not just fighters. They were highly trained investments. They lived and trained in special schools called ludi. Life was harsh but disciplined. They were fed a high-energy diet of barley and beans and trained daily with wooden weapons. The best gladiators were celebrities with fans and graffiti praising them. Their owner, the lanista, was seen as disreputable, but could become rich from his fighters' victories. While many were slaves, some free men volunteered for the fame and potential fortune. Successful gladiators could earn their freedom, receiving a wooden sword, the rudis, as a symbol of their release.
This is wonderful.
Oh gods, it's too much. I can't breathe.
Emperor Elagabalus is infamous for his decadence and eccentricity. He held lavish banquets with bizarre themes. One story claims he once smothered his guests to near unconsciousness under a mass of rose petals falling from the ceiling. Another tells of him serving hundreds of ostrich brains at a single dinner. He reportedly used cobwebs as purple dye, a color reserved for emperors. His behavior, which included marrying a Vestal virgin and serving as a priest of a Syrian sun god, scandalized Rome. His reign was short and chaotic, ending when the Praetorian Guard assassinated him and his mother, throwing their bodies into the Tiber River. This famous phrase was literally true. The Romans built over 400,000 kilometers of roads from Britain to Mesopotamia. These roads were engineering marvels, constructed with layered foundations for durability and cambered surfaces for drainage. They allowed the rapid movement of legions, trade goods, and information. Milestones marked every Roman mile, indicating distance to the city of Rome itself. This network connected the empire, binding its provinces to the capital. It facilitated cultural exchange, economic growth, and military control, proving that the true strength of Rome was not just in its cities, but in the paths that connected them.
Where is my wife? Has anyone seen my wife?
She ran off with the stable boy, master!
While gladiators are famous, Romans loved other spectacles. The Circus Maximus, holding 250,000 people, was dedicated to chariot racing. Teams like the Blues and Greens had fanatical supporters, and riots sometimes erupted. Races were dangerous and thrilling. Romans also enjoyed the theater, from comedies by Plautus to tragic plays. However, their taste was broad, including naughty mime shows, bloody animal hunts, and even public executions as entertainment. A day at the games was a social and political event, a way for emperors to gain popularity and for the people to forget their troubles. The toga was the ultimate symbol of Roman citizenship, but it wasn't just a simple cloth. It was a complex garment, up to 6 meters long, requiring skill to drape correctly. Different types signaled status: the plain toga virilis for citizens, the bordered toga praetexta for magistrates, and the pure white toga candida for candidates. Women wore a long dress called a stola. Underneath, both sexes wore a tunic. Romans also loved jewelry, wore sandals, and used intricate hairstyles. Fashion was a clear indicator of one's place in the rigid Roman social hierarchy.
The garum is exceptional this year.
And the wine smooth, despite the water.
The Roman diet was centered around grains, olives, and grapes. Their most famous condiment was garum, a pungent, fermented fish sauce used like modern ketchup. They drank wine diluted with water, often spiced and sweetened. A common meal for the poor was pulse, a wheat porridge. The rich enjoyed extravagant dishes like stuffed dormice, flamingo tongues, and roasted peacock. A famous Roman cookbook by Apicius survives, giving us recipes. They had no sugar, using honey instead, and no tomatoes or potatoes, which came from the New World.
We must clean this thoroughly. Drink the wine, it will help with the pain. Keep the arm still.
Roman medicine combined Greek theory with practical field experience. The great physician Galen, who worked on gladiators, made advances in anatomy, though his human knowledge was limited as he dissected animals. Roman military hospitals, or valetudinaria, were highly organized. Surgeons used a wide array of bronze and steel tools: forceps, scalpels, probes, and even speculums. They could perform cataract surgery, set bones, and amputate limbs. While they had no anesthesia, they used opium and wine. Public hygiene was advanced, with aqueducts and baths understanding a link between cleanliness and health. The phrase panem et circenses, bread and circuses, was coined by the poet Juvenal. It described how the Roman emperors kept a massive urban population happy and passive. The state provided free grain and later bread to hundreds of thousands of citizens. They also funded spectacular, free public games. This system of welfare and entertainment was a political tool. By satisfying the basic needs and desires of the poor, the ruling class could avoid unrest and maintain power. It was a clever, if cynical, strategy to ensure stability in a city with great social inequality.
Henceforth the law is applied equally to all. If any man deprives another of his rights, he shall be brought before the magistrate and punished accordingly.
Before the 12 Tables, Roman law was unwritten, interpreted arbitrarily by patrician priests. The plebeians demanded a published legal code. Around 450 BC, 10 men drafted the laws, which were inscribed on 12 bronze tablets displayed in the forum. This was a huge victory for the common people. The laws covered everything from debt and property rights to court procedure and family law. While harsh by modern standards, they established the principle that the law should be public and apply to all citizens. They became the foundation for all subsequent Roman law, influencing legal systems worldwide.
We must defend the Republic against these tyrants. Their ambition threatens the liberty of every Roman citizen.
Roman education was for boys, typically from wealthy families. It had 3 stages. First, the literator taught basic reading, writing, and arithmetic on wax tablets. Then, the grammaticus taught Greek and Latin literature, history, and mythology. The final stage under a reader taught the art of public speaking, or rhetoric, which was essential for a political career. Girls were educated at home in domestic skills. Education aimed to produce effective speakers and citizens, men who could argue, persuade, and govern. It was a system that produced leaders like Cicero and shaped the administrative elite of the empire. The Roman Empire fell, but its legacy is everywhere. Latin evolved into the Romance languages: Italian, Spanish, French, Portuguese, and Romanian. Roman law is the basis for civil law in most of Europe. We see Roman architecture in the arches, domes, and columns of our capitals and churches. Our calendar is Julius Caesar's Julian calendar, slightly revised. Concepts of citizenship, republicanism, and even the alphabet were passed down. Rome's engineering, literature, and philosophy were preserved and rediscovered, fueling the Renaissance and shaping the modern Western world.
Vivamus ex hoc sanguine.
Besides the official religion, mystery cults were popular, offering personal salvation and secret knowledge. The most famous was Mithraism, centered on the god Mithras killing a bull. It was especially popular among soldiers. Its rituals were held in small underground temples called Mithraea. Members progressed through 7 grades, like Raven and Lion. Women were excluded. The cult emphasized loyalty, bravery, and fraternity. For a time, it was a major rival to Christianity. We know little about its exact beliefs as they were secret, but its remains are found across the empire.
This is not an end, but a transformation. The symbols of the past dissolve into the dawn of a new era.
In 476 AD, the Germanic general Odoacer deposed the last Western Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus. This event is traditionally marked as the fall of the Western Roman Empire. However, it wasn't a sudden catastrophe, but a long process. The empire was weakened by economic crisis, political instability, civil war, and constant pressure from migrating tribes. The Eastern Roman Empire, Byzantium, survived for another 1,000 years. The fall was more of a transformation. Roman culture blended with Germanic and Christian traditions, slowly giving rise to the kingdoms of medieval Europe. It was not an end, but a new beginning.